Hi, I'm Rick Snyder. We've talked about this forever. Pizza and pigskin tours, where we eat pizza, we walk around, see a little bit of historical sites and all that. Well, it's finally happening. You can go to my website, monumentalthoughts.com, and see where, how you can get tickets. The tickets do include the price of pizza and non-alcoholic drinks. Pay for your own beer. But we're going to walk around Georgetown, 20, 30 minutes. I'm going to show you a lot of cool stuff. Then we're just going to sit and talk and eat pizza and whatever you want to ask, I'll talk about, as long as they don't get me in court. So make sure you come and see the pizza and pigskin tours at monumentalthoughts.com, and I'll be eating pizza with you soon.
And welcome to the Hogside. It is Alex, your host by default, and with me this week we have the full crew. Jamal and Steve are here, and we have a special guest, Dave Earl, who has been writing for us for about 6 months, I want to say, 3 months, something like that, Dave?
Somewhere around there, yeah. I can't even remember the first month I started on, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so Dave's been writing for us. He's been doing a bunch of columns about the whole team's name change and what names, folks might want or might like. And we wanted to have him on the show at the beginning for a few minutes, talk about, all the polling he did online and, kind of just fans' reactions to different names. So, Dave, welcome to the show. Good to have you on.
Thank you.
I know we talk a lot on Twitter and other social media, so, it feels like we kind of know you already from that. Good or bad, I don't know. But
well, hopefully mostly good anyway.
Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's actually a pretty good honor to be on the show with you guys. I've listened to you guys for, how many years now? So it's just...
Well, we've been doing it for 5 seasons now. This will be season 6.
You tolerated my nonsense for that long?
Yeah.
Well, you'd be surprised on how much you and me align in terms of the way we think and so forth.
I like that.
It's yes.
There's one. Hey, so tell us. So you probably know more about how the fans feel about Washington's name change than probably anyone, considering you've written all these articles and we've done all these polls. And yeah, we put them up on the Hogsty, but you're the one that's really kind of managed them and looked at them. So just from a general sense. And you know how I feel. Everybody knows how I feel at this point. I think the whole thing is dumb, and they should keep Redskins. But that's not going to happen. So, what do you think what direction do you think the fans are going with the name?
Well, first of all, you're really not as alone as you think you are in terms of them ditching the Redskins. There are a lot of people in most of these polls. Especially when I go on Facebook, a lot of people make comments about exactly what you say. In terms of it was dumb to get rid of the name, and they called Dan Snyder a PR nightmare. He could have saved this whole process if he would have done it the right way. And, but that's a whole nother conversation there. But as far as with the name, I think the one name that pops out the most is, of course, the Red Wolves. And the one thing I've noticed in these polls is for those who hate the name change entirely, tend to have the most disgust against the Red Wolves because most of the fan base seems to like Red Wolves, if that makes any sense.
It does. So they're contrarians. They're just trying to be contrarians for contrarian's sake.
I've been called a contrarian a time or two in my life.
Yes.
So I think...
Steve, you're also not a fan of Red Wolves.
Oh, what?
You're not a fan of Red Wolves either.
No, I'm not. Not at all. Because it's dumb. I mean, a Red Wolf? I mean, granted, okay, there's 5 of them out there. They're scrawny little wolves. I don't get it. I mean, what's so special other than the fact that it kind of flows Redskins, Red Wolves. I don't get it at all. I don't get what's special. I don't get why people like it. Dave, why do people like Red Wolves so much?
Well, I think you just kind of hit it right there with red, with our whole hashtag HTTR. So they still keep that hashtag. They still keep red. They're forcing red into there. And I mean, granted, there are some really good designs and some marketing ideas for Red Wolves out there. Some of them are pretty impressive. I actually like a few of them out there. But in terms of for Red Wolves, it just seems like it's a force. The red is just force. They're just trying to drive that home. Where me, I'm kind of in a group where I think just drop the red and go with Wolves. The marketing's the same. Right. A lot of people still like Wolves. You still do the Wolf Pack, the Den, and so forth going forward, but it doesn't feel as forced, but
I'm not sure tell us in these polls, I'm not really sure the fan base really likes anything. I don't think there's like a huge leading contender, like statistically, really, of any of them. Is there?
Well, I think you have your core of fans that just typically want to fight back on everything and anything just because it's not Redskins anymore, right. And as I alluded to earlier, but also when you go through, it's like there's a direction. Like when Jason Wright took away the Warriors, said that's off the list. It seems like in a lot of people's eyes that this organization is trying to go a little more to PC, and trying to be sensitive to, or not sensitive, but just real with the political correctness and so forth. And that's one sense I get with some of the names that are thrown out there. But as far as outside the Red Wolves, there's really no other names that anybody really kind of covets, really wants. There's pushback on every name, like the Hogs, any variation of the Hogs. Everybody hates that idea. Nobody.
I think the polling was really negative about Hogs.
Yeah,
right?
I was actually surprised by how negative it was. You would think that, the Hogs have that revered history in DC, that would have done much better. Same with, even Warthogs, people my age, in their 30s, remember the Warthogs indoor soccer team as a fond thing from back in the day.
Right.
Alex, there's one person on the world, and that's
it's a lot of. It's not your group. It's people 10 years younger than you that would remember that.
Soccer fans who are going to remember? No.
I
think you're drastically
childhood.
overrating.
It's just a thing from a childhood. If you grew up in DC in the 90s.
And in fact, you mentioned soccer fans like that. That's one thing too. When going with Washington FC or the DCFC or whatever that other moniker was that they had out there. Yeah, that was the one thing that nobody really wanted because we don't want to be called another soccer team, and it seems lazy in a lot of people's eyes and so forth. But
it seems lazy one name it is lazy.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. I do agree with that.
I would prefer Washington FC over the football team thing or DCFC too. If they were to relegate it to just something as simple as that, Washington FC is the better out of the three. But I would prefer them actually give effort and put an actual name behind this team.
Right.
I just think as a general rule, this Dave's hit it right. It's PC gone amok. I think they're trying really too hard to please every single group out there and every single person. Let's not offend anybody. I mean, I could connect Native American imagery to almost any animal you could name, including wolves, eagles, whatever you could name. There's some connection there. Yeah. So I think they're going about this in just like a painstakingly pull my fingernails out with tweezers kind of way. In a weird way, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I sort of admire the Cleveland Indians, now the Cleveland Guardians, because at least they just decided and did it. Here it is, period.
Although like it or not. They are getting sued by a roller derby team who already had the copyright or the trademark.
Well, they just pay them off, and that's easily solved. But point is, they didn't agonize over this. Like, oh my God, let's wring our hands for 2 years over it. They just did it, and I admire that greatly. So, but the other thing is, I just don't think they're ever going to make anybody happy.
No, they won't.
No.
Yeah,
isn't that what you've proved, Dave? Isn't that the macro point here? Is that nobody really is in love with any of these names, and pick whatever DC Sentinels or whatever. They're not going to get 90% of the people that like any name. I think.
No, and I think between you and Doc Walker a few weeks ago, and you guys always keep repeating. Doesn't matter what name they pick, they just have to win.
Yeah.
They have to stop these decades long of embarrassing embarrassing season after season, scandal, and Dan Snyder just being a train wreck with his front office and so forth. But see, that's the one thing that I think we're starting to see now is that this front office now is what's resonating the most in this fan base, where the only thing that we have to fight amongst ourselves about is just a name change, as opposed to any other scandals or so forth that we see pop up every other year. But yeah, I don't think any name is really going to come across well with any fan on a majority. They just have to win. It's like I was kind of, I guess I shouldn't be too surprised, but like you and I like the Red Tails. That's one name that being a veteran, I would absolutely be on board with 100%.
It's the only one I think I could legitimately accept is Red Tails.
Right. And in fact, you could even still keep the HTTR. You could still build a fight song off of our old one, kind of, and just word it correct. So we still had that with the band, the music at the games and so forth. But unfortunately, a lot of people were looking at it, well, it's, it will have too many spanking jokes involved with it where we get our tails beat one weekend. Oh, well, yeah, the Red Tails got their rear end spanked again.
I mean, that's a stupid reason. My only reason I've ever liked it is because Tuskegee is, 1,000 miles from here.
Right.
Yeah, so what? I mean,
I get that, but when you look at DC and we're like the central hub with the Pentagon, our Defense Department, and so forth. Like this, like at least we have that tie. I might be kind of a weak tie.
I get that, but like the Red Tails to me is Tuskegee.
Well, first of all, Tuskegee University is not what we're honoring. What we're honoring is an airplane.
No, but they're the
after
Tuskegee
an airplane
Airmen.
Fought, yes, but it's they were known for their fight in the European theater in World War II. They're not known for the Tuskegee University in based out of Alabama. I mean, but if you can name a team after a wolf, why can't you name a team after a military unit? Who cares where the
there are. Weren't the Eagles
today.
initially also like a military unit thing when they got their name?
Eagles?
Wasn't it supposed to be tied to like the World War I Air Force or something like that?
You talking about the Eagles?
Yeah, I thought I read that at one point. I might be wrong.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard that at all.
Oh.
Even living in Philly, I've never heard that reference.
Philadelphia teams.
I look at their logos and I'm like, this logo that old logo they had was very Air Force looking.
Well, so Dave, I mean, what do you think they're going to do at the end of all this? After you've surveyed all these people and written all these articles, what do you think? Where are we going to end up?
Honestly, I either see. I saw the name Legends floated out there. Alex and I went back and forth on that on Twitter a little bit. Because someone brought that up. I wouldn't be surprised seeing a curveball name like that just kind of coming out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Something like the Legends kind of honor our team's history and so forth, which I thought was not a terrible idea. And it kind of flows pretty well, and it's kind of synonymous with our team history. Plus, you can make Legends and refer that to some of our legendary military leaders and so forth that we've had in the past. So there's a lot of directions you could go with that. But without a curveball name, honestly, I think we're probably end up going either Red Wolves or Wolves. And I would think probably just Wolves, because I think that's, out of all the names, that's the one name, if you start winning, that you could see becoming more of the fabric of this fan base because of the marketing and things you could do in the stadium. You have the Wolf Pack and all that good stuff and everything. I think unless they go crazy and off the wall, I don't see any other name to use outside of Wolves, to be honest with you.
The downside, of course, is you've got the Minnesota Timberwolves. You've got, the Wolfpack. What is that, North Carolina State?
Yeah, NC State Wolfpack. Yeah,
Wolfpack.
True. But I don't know. It's so hard because
I think they got Red Wolves down there too in Arkansas.
Yes. Yeah. I know it's so hard to tell because unlike past years, you're not getting many leaks out of this organization. Usually by now we'd have some sort of a leak of something, but this organization just seems to be so tight-lipped on anything anymore. It's so difficult to tell. But if they were going to truly go based off what the fans wanted, I would think the direction of the Wolves, to be honest with you, because they lean more in that direction. And I think that at least when you look at the younger generations coming through, I think they're going to gear a name towards them as well, not necessarily like you and I, because we're on the back end. We're guys are going to be cycled out eventually, and we're just we won't be around anymore. So what's going to appeal to the younger generations? So that's why even though Legends would be a curveball name, I don't think they would still go with that. That was something that we as older fans would gravitate more towards.
It speaks towards old a little bit.
Yes.
Not young.
Yeah.
I wonder how they will approach that though in terms of the branding and the actual uniform style, like Legends. That's interesting because it is a curveball name. I agree with Dave. I would just wonder how they will approach that, and see how they kind of work that into the actual history of the city and the team.
Oh, by the way, speaking of, since I'm having to monitor the comment section, I saw people ask me why I continually use Redskins in a strike through in all my columns. It's not a joke, people. It's my form of protest, okay? It's not a joke. It's me giving the written middle finger to this entire process. That's why I do it, just for the record. But please continue.
It's still kind of a joke.
It's not a joke at all. It's me saying I hate this. That's what it is. It's in no way a joke.
Well, I mean, to be honest, if Dan Snyder and his organization handled in the very beginning this thing, instead of going, this name will never change, you can put this all in caps, and being that direct and being that arrogant about it, he should have done something in terms of taking upon himself to either him or a team going to each reservation, talking to these tribes and getting a true take on what's offensive and what's not, where they need the actual help and what their true issues are, because I know Redskins is not what their big issues are. No. Education and drug addiction and so forth, medical and everything. But people like Mike Florio, your favorite journalist, and Mike Wise, yeah, right, and Mike Wise, they just want to hang on that because they want a trophy. People out there, they just want a trophy. Well, we got the name change. That's it. Now we don't have to deal with them anymore. The Native Americans, actual indigenous people to this country. You know what I mean? So it's instead of Dan handling it the right way, he just rested on his laurels and just moved forward, real arrogant about it.
Yeah. We'll never forget that the name changed because FedEx forced the hand, not because of a business dispute, not because the team cared about what anybody thought about it. It was when when the owner of FedEx didn't get his distribution from Dan Snyder, he forced the team to change the name out of spite. That's what actually happened. Right.
And that's a whole other conversation that drives me nuts, especially when you get Nike involved. Let's ignore how their products are made, overseas in these sweatshops and what they do to make a good profit off the back of women and children in countries that, you know what I mean? It's like,
let's forget that their products are garbage.
Yeah, right.
A topic better left for it's just business.
Yeah.
Yes, you are absolutely right.
Yeah. So, and it's not like we're gonna find the answer to this today. Like you said, the team's been tight-lipped about it. We got one more year to go. My gut tells me the week after the Super Bowl, we're gonna get the new name. So,
this just means I'm gonna have to keep watching the trademark filings, unfortunately, forever.
Yep. Right.
And I have to keep, at some point they're going to have to address my buddy Phil McCauley, who, whatever name they pick, he's going to already have a filing on it. So at some point they're going to have to pick up the phone and call him.
Yeah, exactly, because he's got 400 names on file.
He does, yeah.
All right, well, Dave, it was good having you on to talk about this, and, we got to, hop over and start talking about the preseason, but it was great to talk to you for a little bit about the whole name change article thing you did. Now you got to find something else to write about. So, thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it, and I look forward to any other opportunities you give me.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be some in the future.
Yes.
All right. Great, guys.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, there goes Dave. Yeah, we're not going to solve the name thing anytime soon, I don't think.
It just gives me a chance to complain, and I like that.
Yes. Like you need a chance to complain, Steve.
I always find something to complain about.
Yeah.
Luckily for you, we got about 3 more months, and you could get everything off your chest before they announce the new name.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
More than 3. More like 9.
Yeah.
Wait, where am I at? It's 8. Oh yeah, more than 3. My bad.
Yes.
At least 3. Let's put it that way. Before the leaks start coming out.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we should get into the actual football talk, guys, because football was played this week. It was Thursday night, a few nights ago. Very exciting, low-scoring game, right, for a preseason game.
It was a very boring preseason game.
It was not exciting. I'm being facetious, of course. I don't know where you guys want to start. Do we want to do our typical let's talk offense, let's talk defense thing like we always do for regular season, or do we just want to hit our highlights?
I think like just general impression.
Sure.
For me, I didn't think either team, either the Patriots or Washington, looked particularly good or particularly sharp on offense or defense. I thought Ryan Fitzpatrick looked like Ryan Fitzpatrick, and that's a good thing for the most part.
Yeah.
The couple of guys on the starters that kind of stuck out. I mean, Terry McLaurin looked like himself, I thought. Sam Cosmi had some ups and downs, but more ups and downs, so that was good. But beyond that, in terms of the starters, I thought the Chase Young no sack thing, he just demolished that right tackle or left tackle.
Left tackle, yeah.
Yeah, and so he looked good in that. But beyond that, I didn't think the team looked particularly sharp on offense or defense at all. Granted, it's early. Granted, it's a sort of a milquetoast game plan or no game plan at all. But I wasn't really overly impressed by preseason standards by what I saw. I guess that's my sort of macro level impression.
Okay, Jamal, what about you?
So I guess I'll go macro first. I think that I think that the team showed some signs of match Ron Rivera's level of urgency that he asked for. I'm talking about the starting level. When you talk about the offense and defense, defensively, obviously forcing.
Jamal, did we lose you?
Uh-oh. I think we did lose Jamal, people.
Uh-oh.
Yes, the radio gods did not like what Jamal was saying. Yeah. Well, while we get Jamal back here, so let's
well,
let me go over some stats. Yeah,
macro.
okay, do that. And then we'll do stats.
Let me give you my 2 cents. And quarterback play was solid overall. Montez struggled, but he's a bench guy. I don't really worry about him. I thought the special teams issues with the new long snapper, and how that impacted the kicking game. That's something they got to figure out quick. And then, let's see. The real thing that stood out to me, I knew we were thin depth-wise when it came to the front 7, but this looked really thin, at times. When the 2s and 3s were out there, you didn't really see much of any impact by the defensive depth at end or linebacker. So that's
we knew that.
Yeah, we knew that, but I didn't think it was as bad as it is.
We got Jamal back, everybody.
Yes.
Yay. Okay, Jamal, you kind of dropped off in the beginning of your thought, so why don't you tell us?
You know what's crazy? Oh, my goodness. I'm over here talking and talking, and I didn't even realize I dropped in the beginning of the call. Okay. All right, so let's try this again. Let me actually put it off. All right, here we go. How do I sound? I'm good.
You sound okay.
All right. So basically, the way I was looking from a macro level, I think that the offense and defense matched Rivera's level of urgency. Seeing where Chase Young left off in terms of actually making plays, like two or three plays within the defensive series. The first defensive series was pretty encouraging. Obviously, Tampa was a different story in the postseason, but knowing that this defense and him being able to put pressure early on, like it wasn't like a casual, let's just go ahead and make a couple plays, get warmed up, and get up out of here, get a feel for the game type thing. No, they came in there to make plays, stop the offense. and force some turnovers. And obviously, because I think it was an incomplete pass, they ruled it. I don't remember. It looked like a forced fumble at some point, but just saying that early on was encouraging. And then on the offensive side, from a macro level as well, just seeing how Fitzpatrick played with Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas, who are going to be key pieces for the offense moving forward throughout the season. It's good to see them connect early and often. I shouldn't say often, but early was actually encouraging to see as well, because it kind of shows you already the confidence level, especially on the one play that probably like a 15 to 17 yard dig of sorts. Seeing how they performed or how Ryan connected with Terry in that aspect was good. But then also seeing Logan Thomas be relied upon on third down on a flag route or corner route, and him being able to adjust to the ball and understanding that the ball would get there so long as, he runs his route. It was really good to see. And then lastly, Antonio Gibson, from the starters, a guy that we were kind of concerned about throughout the fan base, understanding what the turf toe is now and getting more clarity that these things kind of linger for a long time.
Sure.
It can be a problem. So seeing how confident he was playing and understanding that it looked like mentally and just observing him, it looked like it was a non-factor for him. It was encouraging, especially for the first game. So Ron Rivera didn't hold back, man. He played his starters like he said he would. He wanted these guys to come out there and play to win. And they came out there with the urgency. Now, execution-wise, you would like to see them make plays in critical situations. Specifically, that first drive on 3rd and 1, there was clearly a missed blocking assignment that disallowed Peyton Barber, a guy who I don't like, to get that first down, and it wasn't his fault. It really wasn't his fault. So the backside pursuit man came free, untouched, and got Peyton Barber in the backfield.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. And then I think the second drive where I want to say Adam Humphries slipped on his out route or his jet out or something like that, and he slipped on 3rd down. Now it looked like the pass was a little bit further out than it should have been, but we don't know because he slipped. So we don't get to see that opportunity connect. So these missed opportunities on top of lack of execution, I don't want it to be a storyline moving forward. Like, I don't want that to be a storyline for this offense because they look crisp in between the 20s, or quote unquote in between the 20s. But when you kind of dive a little bit deeper into how they were playing, you just hope that the missed opportunities don't become a storyline moving forward.
Yeah. Here, for those of you wondering, haven't seen it, I'll read a few of the stats. We're not going to do all of them, but Ryan Fitzpatrick was 5 for 8 for 58 yards, quarterback rating of 84. Taylor Heineke was 9 for 15 for 86 yards, quarterback rating of 76. Steven Montez was 17 for 24, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. In terms of the running backs, Jarrett Patterson led the way. He was 10 for 40 with a long of 12. And then Antonio Gibson was 5 for 15 for 3 yards per carry. And Peyton Barber actually averaged more than 3 yards per carry. He was 6 for 20. So miracles do happen sometimes. And then from a receiving standpoint, Terry McLaurin had only 3 targets. But remember, he was in just with Fitzpatrick. And so between McLaurin and Thomas, they had 4 targets, meaning 4 of Fitzpatrick's 8 were just of those 2 guys. And so, yeah, I think Jamal is right that McLaurin and Thomas showed some connection with Fitzpatrick, which is good.
Yeah.
Leading receivers, Jarrett Patterson, 4 for 30. And I'm not going to read all the rest of them. They went down from there. And defense, the sacks, half a sack to Bunmi Rotimi and David Bada. And that was the only sack. No interceptions. No anything. So that is stats. I like to go back to Antonio Gibson.
Yeah. Let's talk running backs in general.
Yeah, okay. So Antonio Gibson, granted, he's only 5 for 15. The stats aren't good, but I thought he looked a lot more like a traditional gap running back than he did last year. I think it seems obvious that he's been working on it. He has a year of experience. Last year, he looked like he was not that. He looked like more kind of a scat back to me. They were trying to force into the role a little bit. And we said from the beginning he needed experience, and I think he's getting it. And so the trick will be, if they use him more like that, can he still produce at a level of whatever it was, what he averaged, 4.5 yards per carry at least last year, if not
Something
more?
like that, yeah.
Yeah, can he do that again this year? That's the trick. But I was, in spite of the stats, I was encouraged by what I saw from him and like the style he ran.
What I liked with Gibson when he was on the field, it wasn't just his running ability; it was how he was kind of interacting with the blockers ahead of him. On
That's what
a
I'm
couple
talking
of those runs, he was finding the perfect hole. He had one run for, I think, 8 yards or something, that if Cosme had made one more block on a guy, it probably would have been a 25, 30-yard run. It was like one block away from being a big run.
Yeah.
So I was happy to see he's reading things right, and that's big with Gibson.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, that's sort of what I was seeing. You said it better than I did, but that's what I was seeing, and it was a 6-yard run that you were talking about.
Okay.
So what else? I mean, I think Jared Patterson's probably going to be the fan favorite in camp. I think our writer, no one from Tampa, wrote about this.
Yeah.
And he's probably right.
I've been saying that for a while too, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I like Jarrett, but it remains to be seen if he can even make the roster. They've got a ton of running backs here, and he's going to have to basically displace Peyton Barber,
right,
to make the active roster. So we'll see if that happens.
The problem for him is not – I think he's easily the third best running back on this roster, but it's running back type. Do you need three guys who are all kind of runner receivers? Because honestly, somebody needs to be bang it up the middle guy. And
well, see, what's weird is he wasn't really a receiver in college.
No, but they're working him into that now here.
Yeah, they clearly are.
And they talked about wanting to work on punts.
I guess we'll get.
That would be
We'll get to punts later.
Yes.
There's just this thing about Patterson. Like, if you pay attention to what the coaches are saying, it's something like to just speak on what Alex was saying. It's just something that you kind of got to pay attention to, because they clearly, in his first game, he had 4 catches and 10 rushes, 4 receptions. 4 targets too, as well as those 4 catches. So 4 for 4. He came up big late in the fourth quarter with a clutch catch. They're seeing every single thing that Patterson can do to see if this can work out for this team. And that kind of stems from what they saw in training camp, but also his first opportunity. We don't know what it's going to look like the next 2 games, but I think you got to pay attention to it. And what Alex said, like he said, with special teams, they're going to work every single angle that they got with Patterson, because they want to know, if they keep him, what can he do for the team? And right. It's not what can he do for the offense, it's what can he do for the team. And that's kind of something that an angle that people aren't really diving into just yet, because if he can do a lot for the team, it makes a couple of guys, not just one, makes a couple of guys expendable.
Yeah,
for
no,
sure.
I think you're right.
For sure.
In terms of receivers, I thought De'Ami Brown looked like an NFL player, which hopefully, he's a 3rd-round pick. Hopefully he will be. I think the other fan favorite, Samus Reyes, like those of us with the brain have been saying, he's going to take a while. I mean, that was his first football game he's ever played. And he kind of looked like that. I mean, granted, he had 2 catches, but I don't think it's likely he's going to be on the active roster this year. I could be wrong. There's that. But nobody else really stuck out to me a whole lot in terms of the receivers, more than what we already knew.
Reyes, I kind of think he might make it, just because Hemingway and no one who's really challenging for that 3rd tight end spot. Assuming
Hemingway looked terrible.
Yeah,
like as a blocker, but he just he embarrassed himself, flat out embarrassed himself as a blocker. But I don't know if Samus Reyes is going to be any better. Who's he ever blocked?
He had 1 or 2 good blocks in this game. He
actually looked pretty good in the run game.
Yeah.
If that was one thing it for sure looked like he had, was his presence in the run game was pretty good. The pass catches, a lot of people are trying to defend him, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not even attacking him, but like you can't bobble catches like that, because that'll, like, in a real game, somebody's gonna hit you, and that ball's gonna pop up in the air, and it's gonna be a turnover. And while y'all are defending him in the preseason, when it happens in regular season, you can be like, bruh, stop throwing him the ball because he can't catch.
That's right.
I'm just saying, it's okay to understand that he's still new, but he still needs to clearly continue working on catching the passes. But in the run game, I didn't see. I was really encouraged.
Him and Bates, actually, I think both did pretty good blocking.
There's no doubt Bates is the second string tight end.
Yeah.
There's no doubt, and he is a blocker, and so he has experience in doing it. I thought he did look good.
He also had that great catch.
Yeah, he did. Maybe I didn't focus enough on Reyes in the run game. Maybe I need to go back and watch again. I'll take your word for it.
I think he makes it just on virtue of the fact that no one else on that tight end group is really gonna, get that third spot.
I just think he's too much of a project, but I could be wrong. I think the other topic, as long as we're talking offense, is offensive line. I mean, what did we all think of the offensive line? Again, I thought Cosme, for the most part, looked good.
Yeah.
Not 100% of the time. I think Charles Leno might have missed.
Where I was like, he could have done that better. That's going to happen.
Yeah. But all the same, I mean, I didn't think as a whole the starting offensive line looked all that great. Certainly in run blocking, that they left a lot on the table, I thought. So I don't know if we've solved our offensive line problems this year.
I think they're okay. I don't think they're terrible. Like, we've seen bad offensive lines. We've seen really good offensive lines here. I think this is a very middle-of-the-pack group right now. But, I can live with that. At least, in preseason. We'll see how they develop when you see all the starters out for a whole game, not just a drive or two. Yeah, and, we talked a little bit about quarterbacks, but I feel like we need to touch on them more fully. Fitzpatrick, I think it's unquestioned now that he's the starter after this one game. He's got a good command of everything. I don't think Heineke or Allen's going to really be able to challenge him this year. I think that's fair to say.
I think it was not a question before this game that he was the unquestioned
some
starter.
People, the coaches said, it's going to be a competition. Like, it was coach speak. I know, but, so I think that's settled.
I didn't think ever wasn't not settled.
Yeah.
I mean, Heineke, I liked him better in the playoff game than I did this past Thursday, I guess. I thought he scrambled out of the pocket too much. It was like almost he got spooked or something, like that corner route to, was it Patterson? That Patterson made a great catch on. I mean, like, why are you running? Just step up. Don't start scrambling. It was totally unnecessary. So I think Heineke does have a ways to go yet, and for that reason, I think there's just no doubt that Ryan Fitzpatrick is the starter.
Right.
But he'll get there. And I guess Kyle Allen is still hurt. Is that the rationale here?
Yes. It sounds like we might not see him this preseason.
It's weird because, nobody's talking about him. He's not on any sort of PUP list or anything. He's just not doing anything.
Yeah.
And in terms of Steven Montez, he looked like a one-year practice squad player. He looked like exactly like what we thought he was, which is one-year practice squad player. He looked bad in the beginning. He threw an interception, but then he drove the team and got a score, which should have tied the game, but for the blown call by the refs on the 2-point conversion, because it was actually a catch.
Yeah.
He's. What's that?
I didn't mean to cut you off. That's all.
Oh, it's okay. I thought the catch on that 2-pointer was was undoubtedly a catch. I don't know why the NFL cares what happens when a player has the ball in their possession and in their control with 2 feet down in the end zone. I don't know why it matters what happens when they're falling out of bounds. I think that's the stupidest rule ever. But regardless, I thought Montez looked like a third-string practice squad guy, which is what he is.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I think regardless of what he looked like in terms of like positionally, first, second, or third string, whatever, I leave that up to the people, because I'm not going to convince or try to convince or persuade anybody's decisions on or opinions on them. But what I will say is I think that Steven Montez sucks, or Steven Montez is terrible, or he's the worst person to happen to this offense in terms of evaluating talent. I've seen those things. I'm not exaggerating. I think that's overblown. And I think that's overblown because, for one reason, when you play the way you play early on in your snaps, your snap count, but then lead a 15 play 90 plus yard drive, for a potential game tying drive at that, it speaks wonders to your level of awareness, your level of urgency, your level of sharpness in one of the most serious situations in football. And you can't take that away from a player. And I think, again, regardless, think about all the people who made plays on that drive alone. Steven Montez was obviously leading the helm. Jared Patterson made plays. He had, I think, 2 catches on that drive. There was, I want to say it was Samus Reyes who made a couple catches. I think he made one of the 2 catches on that drive as well. This is Saturday. I'll have to look back. I definitely didn't. I watched the first half on Friday and then watched the second half. So you got to understand, like, there was multiple contributing factors, and guess who played a majority, a reason for how they ended up coming back, and that was Steven Montez. So that's one of the things that a lot of people don't take into account or refuse to take into account, is that he actually played really good in one of the biggest moments of a game.
So I didn't know people were even down on him. Is this like the stupids on Twitter, I guess?
Oh no, these are some people who I actually respect their opinion too.
Oh.
And I just think they're just flat out wrong in terms of, like, overblowing the impact or the harm that he does to an offense. That wasn't the case.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. I mean, what they expect? I mean, he's an undrafted free agent, practice squad, second-year player. I thought he looked fine, for considering where he is in his development point. So, yeah, whoever those people are, I agree with Jamal and totally disagree with you out there.
I think he stinks.
So, then I disagree with Alex. Alex is wrong.
All right, let's flip sides, talk defense. Real quick, because I don't think there's a lot to talk about with this defense because they didn't do much of anything.
Yeah,
unfortunately. We really need to see somebody other than Chase Young make a couple plays here, going forward in the preseason, right? Like that's going to be kind of the concern with this defense. You didn't see any good play by the linebacking group, really. Corners and safeties, nothing special. There was 1 or 2 nice plays by a backup here and there, guys who probably won't make the roster, honestly. But
I heard a rumor that Jamin Davis was on the field.
I
heard a rumor that Jamin Davis actually played.
Yeah, he was on the field. I think he made 1 tackle that I saw. I don't know how.
I'm kidding.
Counted.
I mean, point is, he didn't look good. He didn't do anything.
No.
I don't think anything was really resolved on defense. Not other than Chase's one, blow up play he had there, the sack, no sack.
Right.
I mean, nobody else really stood out at all, good or bad. I think Alex is right to say the depth was a problem, on this team for sure. But we knew that already. Nothing really resolved itself, certainly. So, I was a bit underwhelmed and disappointed just generally with the defense.
Jamal, any thoughts on defense?
Yeah, my bad. I was muted. Yeah, so I think that there's a couple of things that stood out. When I spoke on execution and urgency, I was speaking primarily on that first team defense. However, that was it. The team clearly they played fast throughout. That was on both sides of the ball. I give them credit for playing fast and being decisive. However, some of these guys in the run game struggled. They struggled to fit the gaps, and some of them took bad angles. We're talking about third stringers here specifically. I specifically remember like 46 and 47. That was late in the game. They took some bad angles. Matter of fact, on that 91-yard touchdown run,
it was bad angles that caused it.
Yep.
Yeah, that was terrible. And then on top of that, some of the rookies, Derek Forrest, he had a long night. he looked like if this was a pro player, pro veteran, like again, and I had to emphasize if this was a pro player or like a pro veteran, because he's still a rookie. This was his first game. It looked like you can tell he played special teams only. He looked out of place on defense.
Yeah.
It looked like the game was moving a little bit too quick. These guys were moving too quick. Every single time somebody got near him, they were blowing past him, and he was just missing the tackle. He couldn't get their hands on him sometimes. I think I pointed that out on the night of, and then Jamin Davis he had some plays where it wasn't that good. And again, like those are the rookies, but also there were some veterans. Obviously, John Bostic took the cake from majority of the fan base. He didn't play too good. He took some poor angles and missed quite a few tackles. So it's a lot of things to take into account when you talk about some of these guys. The tackling part was just not good, but also think for some of these guys, it's because it contributes a lot to them being their first game and an experience that they have to get accustomed to. It's kind of hard to get that type of experience in practices. Even though practice does well for you, it's kind of hard to just get it in practice. You need some game experience. So we'll see what they look like in game 2 and game 3. But first game out, it was pretty noticeable that I think the speed was a little bit too quick for him.
They need to break out the tackle dummies too, and just have everybody make 100 tackle on a tackle dummy just to work on their form, because it was pretty sloppy looking, honestly.
I don't know how much NFL teams work on form tackling like you would in high school. We did that in high school.
They're not allowed to you can't tackle each other now. Like maybe they need to. Sometimes it's the old chop wood, carry water, do the little things.
What was interesting is that I think I'm right in saying that Shaka Toney was the guy who came in for Chase when Chase went out.
I think so.
Meaning that they're looking at the 7th round rookie draft pick. They're giving him a shot to be the principal backup.
Right. Well, every backup they have is a 7th round pick.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Like, do you know how weird it is that you have 2 first-round pick defensive ends and then, 6 guys below them are all 7th rounders? That's very unusual, in terms of team building,
Yeah, that's that is true. I just wasn't expecting it to be him. That was all.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there were unresolved questions in the secondary that are still unresolved.
Sure.
I noticed Torrey McTyer got a really good shot, to prove to play and prove he belonged, which I thought was a bit unexpected. I mean, are they down on some of these other guys? I mean, I just wasn't expecting McTyer to be the guy.
Yeah, I was a little surprised because I didn't even really know who he was at first. I was like, who is this guy? Why is he here? That kind of thing. Yeah, the one thing I was hoping we would see would be a little bit more of Benjamin St-Juste. It didn't. It seemed like he was out there, but I guess they just either didn't throw in his direction or maybe he was playing good coverage. I don't know.
Yeah, he didn't stick out in my head at all. Just watching the game once live and getting more and more bored as the night went on, I didn't see him stick out.
Right,
either good or bad.
Jamal, I think you were talking about this on Twitter. We can't even get coaches film of preseason. They don't do that on NFL's app, right? So that's
so
annoying.
Preseason is taken away. But even worse, so far, Game Pass took away the replays of the games. Like they have the condensed version, but that's it. So we don't even.
Yeah, can we stop right there? Because first of all, I mistakenly let Game Pass auto renew on us, and because I realized they changed it. I'm not sure that the All 22 is even going to be there at all this year.
They claim that it's coming back September.
Oh, thank God, because there's no point in having NFL Game Pass without it.
If we don't have All 22, no, it's awful. I don't mind the condensed version, but you need All 22.
Yeah, but regardless, so what else stood out? I think it's worth discussing punt returners.
Yeah.
DeAndre Carter looked good. Dax Milne had the both of them did. Steven Sims one return for 0 yards, which should surprise no one.
Right.
So I think the job is DeAndre Carter's to lose.
I think so too. The concern I had when I saw the punt returns, he did great, but the guys who were blocking for him kind of, and also on our own punts, our gunners and all those guys, everyone was kind of just half-assing it going down the field. People were not running full speed on the Washington side, which is concerning. I was surprised Carter got as good of a return as he did on that first one because he had two guys coming right at him with no help.
Yeah, I mean, it's not time to celebrate yet, but
No.
I mean, he certainly looks to be better than the string of mediocre to bad that we've had all this time.
Yes, agreed.
And I guess we can't get out of here. I mean, I know we need to talk about the Bengals game because we're running out of time here for the show, but we can't leave the New England game without talking about Dustin Hopkins. Now, I know the fans will hate him.
Yeah.
And it's, oh my God,
Dustin, man.
I mean,
I think Jamal's turned and he's in the anti-Dustin Hopkins camp firmly.
Look, here's the point.
Everybody should be.
Dustin Hopkins, after all the hell he took from the fans last year, he was actually only one kick worse than his career average. You know, that's what the numbers. I'm when it comes to kickers, I'm all about the numbers and the statistics. And the statistics, put this game aside. Yeah, he looked bad. He missed two. And I have to. And Ron Rivera kind of insinuated, as did you, Alex, that it was more to do with the process and the snap and all of that than it was necessarily Dustin. Right. But the fact of the matter is, statistically, Dustin Hopkins is a pretty good kicker. He remains a pretty good kicker. He was only one kick worse than normal last year. So I don't. There's a reason why the coaches keep bringing him back and not having competition. And the reason he's a pretty good kicker.
The reason why I'm gonna push back on this is because, hold on 1 second. My bad. I was putting some shoes on. The only reason why I'm gonna push back on this is because what you said, he's only 1 point off, 1% off than what he was last year, or normally. You said on kickoff?
Oh, I said no. What I said was he was one missed field goal off of his normal career averages last year. That's what the percentages and the numbers said. That's what I said.
Yeah. So with that being said, that doesn't actually tell you where he actually was compared to the rest of the league. Like that.
I wrote about that. I did go through the numbers on that, and he stacks up kind of of the group of kickers that have had their jobs for a long time, several years. He's solidly in the middle of that group. You know, there's two or three standouts. Justin Tucker is by far the best in the NFL by far.
Yes.
And then there's one other guy whose name is escaping me right now. But beyond that, I mean, Dustin is has been a solid kicker. He's not spectacular, but he's not awful either. He's a pretty solid kicker.
Yeah,
that's what
historically he's a middle of the pack guy. Last year he actually had a down year comparatively, but
he was one. When you say down year, he was one miss down. That's it.
Right.
I put it this way, and see I think what the numbers tell you also has to coincide with what you're saying. And the man was missing kicks. It wasn't like he was missing all 50-yard kicks. Like that would be the most difficult, obviously, for obvious reasons. That would be the most difficult thing for a kicker to have, is to make all of his 50-yarders. The man was missing inside 45. Like that's where he was missing too. So if you're saying he had this is an example, right? Because obviously you wrote an article on it, and I'm not near to even read it. But if he missed 10 kicks in a year, and 6 of those misses are inside 40 or inside 45, that's something that you need to pay attention to in terms of a person who's a fan, not literally you, but a fan would need to pay attention to where he missed them. And he missed a lot or enough. I'm not gonna say a lot. He missed enough inside the 50 to really be like, why are you here?
I can tell you the one extra miss was between 40 and 49 yards. All the rest of the distances were right at his career averages. It was the one extra one was 40 and 49 between.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. All right. So I pulled up his numbers from last year, Jamal. 5 for 5, inside the 29. 30 to 39, he was 8 for 7 or 7 for 8. In the 40 to 49 range, he was 13 out of 17, and then
so he missed
from
4
50
inside
plus,
50.
he hit 2 out of 4.
So he missed 5. I just
He
missed. So
missed
he missed
4
five.
between 40 and 49.
No. I'm saying he missed like 5 or 6 under 50, right?
He missed 5 under 50. Yes.
5 under 50. Okay. All
I'm
right.
just telling you, statistically, he's right at where he's always been, with the exception of the one extra miss between 40 and 49. That's what the numbers tell you, because I have looked into all of this.
Right. My bigger concern is all these people are saying, oh, we need to find some. There's no one out there. I looked at all the free agent
Now
kickers.
that I agree with.
Yeah. There's
the,
not
the
a better option
of not
available
breaking the
right
competition to push that man.
Yeah.
Well,
is
yeah, I
kinda-
mean, I guess that's the point, is that it's not as easy as everybody out there, you guys out there seem to think, to find a kicker who can be pretty solid. There's a lot of people who can kick the ball. There aren't too many of them who are good. And so I'm not, like Dustin Hopkins isn't paying me, and he's not my brother or anything. I just think that he frustrates fans, but some of it's a bit unjustified. And more importantly, it's really tough to find a kicker. Don't forget how many kickers this team went through before they found him. They went through a ton of them, and that's not surprising. Every team does this. When you find a kicker who's pretty good, those are the ones who stick around, and that's sort of what they've done with Dustin. No, he's not Mark Mosley, the modern day equivalent of Mark Mosley, but I mean, he's not a horrible kicker, and I just don't think they're gonna. I think the team knows it's pretty tough to find a new one. That having been said, I don't disagree with Jamal saying it certainly wouldn't hurt anything to have a guy in camp to push him. I agree with you there.
So at this point, I think that the problem is that the mistake was already made. Like I don't see them. I don't see them bringing in a kicker now, and I also don't see them like this. Is something where a process should have been done like before camp even started. Like that's where they should have been, is in terms of having competition for him. At this point, it's clear that they committed to Hopkins, and a lot of things that people don't consider, including myself, was the chemistry between what's the dude named Cheeseman and what's the guy Tressway. So that's something that I'm acknowledging that may be a factor, but at the same time, throughout the years, he struggled missing simple kicks. So I don't know how much credit I would give to that relationship being a factor for him missing 2 kicks yesterday, for Thursday.
It plays into it. Nothing. So I've been actually pretty critical of Cheeseman's performance last night, just because it wasn't just kicks where things were off. His punt snaps weren't great either. Like, he didn't miss anybody, but they're coming in high or low. They weren't really hitting where you want to see them hit. But like that all needs to be adjusted for in time. Again, the real problem is, unless you're going to go find someone who's just out of college, some kind of rookie, and give him a shot at, trying to beat out Hopkins, there are no veterans available. So, like, the 2 that had worse years than Hopkins last year. We're talking about guys who were hitting in the, like, low 60s average percentage-wise.
That's what my point is. I mean, the guy wrote 2 articles on this.
Yeah.
Dustin Hopkins
easy to find
is
right now.
He's a pretty good kicker by NFL standards. And, over what he's done over the course of his career, he's been consistent, and these guys are not consistent. So I'm done with the Hopkins thing. I just wanted to bring it up.
All right, let's talk about next week's game real quick. Since it's who? Cincinnati we're playing?
Cincinnati Bengals in Washington.
So let's keep this short and sweet. I want each of you to give me 1 or 2 things that you're hoping to see fixed or see an improvement on in this game. Let's do one from each side, or if you want, if you've got a couple more, we can do that. But
okay, I've got. Go ahead, Jamal.
Okay, go ahead.
No, it's all right.
Jamal, you first.
All right. So offensively, I got one thing for each. I won't take up everything. Offensively, I just want to see more execution or better execution in money situations. We talked about that already in terms of like the opportunities that the starting offense had in their first couple of drives, and they missed them. And I don't want it to be, like I said, I don't want it to be a storyline because there are things like we've had in the past with what's his name, Kirk Cousins, and offenses where they played in the preseason, and they still weren't able to execute in the preseason in terms of performing in the red zone. So these are just things where you got to pay attention to. being able to execute defensively. Eliminate the missed tackles. There's going to be plays where people are out of position and things like that. But the thing that you can control is being able to properly tackle, take on the right tackling angles, and that's it. So I want to see better tackling. I don't like about, I think 3 or 4 missed tackles is the max. That'll be acceptable in my eyes. But yeah, tackling.
For me on offense, I want to see the run game be productive, and what I mean by that is the offensive line needs to block better. The running backs need to do better. So I'm looking for that. And on defense, it's impact plays.
Yeah.
We didn't really see any impact plays. The Patriots offense didn't look particularly good, but there's a lot of talent on the Bengals, weirdly. And we don't know if Joe Burrow's going to play yet, by the way. That's the latest from the Bengals as of Saturday morning when we're recording this, is that it's still unknown whether he's going to play at all in the preseason. So those are my 2 things, is running game effectiveness as an overall system and impact plays on defense.
Yeah, I think that, we're all kind of on the same page on this defense. I said it earlier, I need somebody other than Chase Young to make a couple plays that make me go, oh, okay, that's something promising. We didn't see any of that last week. Other than the one Chase Young play, we just didn't see a lot of performance. On offense, I really want to see a second receiver step up and get comfortable with Fitzpatrick. We know he's good with Terry, I think. I think we got that right away. We got right away that he's good with Logan Thomas. That's a good start. I need that third guy. I don't care who it is necessarily. If it's Brown, if it's Samuel, if it's Cam Sims, but I want to see Fitzpatrick, get a good little connection going with one more guy on this passing game before we feel too comfortable about those starters.
A couple minor Bengals roster notes. Samaje Perine is their second string running back.
Samaje Perine is still in the NFL?
He's the second string running back behind Joe Mixon.
Yeah, he actually been playing all right over there too. That's the great thing. Like he's been okay. I'm not going to over exaggerate it.
Yeah, and we're recording this before the Bengals preseason game against Tampa, which is on Saturday also. So who knows? And the other thing is Thad Moss is on the roster there. He's like the 29th string tight end, So
so we get to see him today. I think they play today. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
They play today, Saturday. Yeah, so watch for those 2 guys on there, and then watch out for who actually plays at quarterback. It'll probably be Brandon Allen, I would assume, instead of Burrow because he's still recovering. So that's the Bengals.
Okay.
At least that's all the Bengals we're going to do for a preseason game.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more about what do we want to see than us breaking down our offense versus their defense like we do in the regular season.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that just about wraps up this show, guys. It was fun to talk to Dave and, actually get to put a face to the name because, like I said, we've all interacted with him on social media. I've never actually, seen his face, which is, so that was good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and, let's hope that this next preseason game gives us a little more to talk about, honestly, because that last one was a snoozer.
It was a snoozer, yeah.
All right, folks, we will see you next week on the Hog Side. Later.